somewhat as a contractor. The location and the design had already been taken care of by Catlow and James, and so starting to walk through the plumbing configurations and cistern configurations, we came up with
height
the
of 6 feet.
solution of basically bringing down the downspout from guttering over on this roof surface, the span of the roof. You can see here, you got the downspout coming down partway along this section, and basically the gutter contractor was able to maneuver this gutter and basically bring the lowest part of that gutter so that it was hitting right alongside this wall, so we'd be able to catch both sections of the roof and route it easily into one spot and then into the tank. So this being an installation for this technical training, certainly wanted to demonstrate one of the best practices, being installing a rain head and a first flush device in terms of water quality. Shay will be using this water for a veggie garden. So basically, rain head coming in here, mounting against the wall. This was the elbow configuration that the gutter contractor came up with in terms of preserving the most vertical fall for us and giving us the most wiggle room in terms of not bringing our inflow too low and thereby limiting our capacity in the tank and the amount of water that we can hold in there. We are just about 7 feet here at the downspout location. We'll be coming across, thank you. We'll be coming straight down, so we've got 6 feet. Yeah, we've got about 6 feet here. We're pretty close to that 6 foot mark in terms of where the bottom of that rain head is coming out. Ooh. And then up here near the top of it, we're exiting our downspout around 7 feet or so in elevation. So basically the bulkhead for the inflow of that tank comes in around 63.5 inches, and that gives us plenty of space to insert our T-fitting that's going to be coming off of that first flush, and we'll be routing alongside the house and entering the tank directly through the side into the bulkhead fitting. Basically, just in terms of tank location, spacing, we've brought it away from the house about 2 feet to allow for the gray water piping, to allow for access, allow space for our plumbing fittings, and brought it away from the air conditioning unit an additional 2 feet to give Shay plenty of access to his hose bib and also to his gray water plumbing in case he does need to get back there and do any clean outs.
The other thing I wanted to, Joe was talking about height. If you needed additional height, the way we designed these is this tab that's on here, you could take off this 90 and you could attach it to the back of the gutter. Okay? And screw it in and now get more height if you needed it. All right? So that's how that thing is designed. So on jobs you don't need it, you could cut it off. We also have jobs where you could bend it back, but it's versatile to be used in a lot of different ways.
In terms of anchoring to your gutters, would you pretty sturdily reinforce that against the wall then?
Yes.
Right after you come across,
And,
so you
and
want to.
that's why it's as deep as it is. If we were going to penetrate the gutter, we would do it at the very top, so you wouldn't have to worry about water in the gutter leaking out. Okay, and we still put silicone in around all the screws and whatnot that you'd go through that gutter with.
You would attach it straight to the gutter, so the weight is not a problem.
Well, okay, the gutter, I would screw in through the gutter into the fascia, through both of them. So there is weight on this thing. This thing weighs like 7 pounds. Yeah. But yeah.
Great. So we've got our footprint here marked out. Basically looking at a 7 foot diameter tank, and our center line being this rock right here. Bringing that around, we're just hitting the exterior of the tank is just going to be located on this flat part of the slope. What we'll probably end up doing is bringing in a little bit of extra soil to build up a buffer and building up this slope here, just so we have an extended pad as we move things around and reposition that tank.
For stability, you mean?
For stability and also to give us a little bit of a buffer as we move things around to get the tank in place. Things may move a couple inches as we go through the install, so we'll just give ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. In terms of the install itself and what we'll be doing, well, does anybody have any questions about the tank configuration and proposed plumbing configuration?
Do we have a route consideration for where our first flush is going to go, or?
So the first flush configuration, that's a very good question. Mark, you'd know better the rules of thumb in terms of first flush sizing for different roof catchments. So basically with a 3-inch pipe coming down vertically, you know, this first flush would be slightly undersized. So we have a couple different options for that first flush. It could be a little bit undersized. We could run a horizontal run of pipe that would potentially run more or less alongside the tank itself here. We could route it here alongside the house. We don't necessarily want to be releasing that water near the foundation and near the slab, so we'd certainly want to consider getting it further away from the house itself.
Joe, we came up with 33 feet of pipe.
33 feet of pipe is what we need to.
Yeah, 33 feet of pipe.
All right. Well, I don't know if we have enough. We can leave a coupling on there and bring another piece of pipe out, perhaps to the.
And the diameter on that would
to
have
the
been
wall,
3
basically.
Yeah.
Mhm,
But
for
Joe
3
had a good point. With a basin this close, you could drop the first flush down and have it just be barely below grade, but it could drop into the basin, and then there's no wasted water. You
yeah,
could do
that's what I
that.
was thinking.
Yeah, but we don't have enough pipe to do that today.
We should be close.
Okay.
In terms of how much we have.
Okay.
So that being a great potential route for that.
And Joe, what we talked about being
First
that's
flush.
asphalt shingles,
Mhm.
we're going to catch all the gravel, 100%, regardless of the size of the first flush. It's some of that other finer sediment
It's gonna
that,
settle out.
yeah. And because it's a plastic tank and it's not that hard to clean out, they realized when they saw the calculation that there's jobs where you just can't put on a 1 gallon per 100 square foot first flush.
Yeah, first flush is
Have you ever this being one of them?
What if you widened the pipe?
Yes, we saw that. If we went to 4-inch pipe, we'd only need
Oh,
like
yeah,
12 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we went to 6-inch pipe, we'd only need. Gosh, I don't have that calc.
You had
in front of me.
you gave us the table.
Yeah, but the cost of that's really prohibitive. So we're gonna stick. We'll see what we have distance-wise to get around it. And Joe, is it important to have the tank level?
It's very important to have the tank level. We don't want uneven pressure being placed on the sides of the walls. We
What
don't
about
want-
sharp rocks under it?
Oh, those are great.
Those are good.
So sharp rocks being under the tank not being a best practice. We'll certainly be raking out any big rocks. We've got some existing pavers here that we're going to be wanting to pull out. We want to surface a base material that is not going to settle unevenly. So sand being a pretty evenly graded, compactable medium to place the tank on top of.
What about, I've seen some guys in town that they put them up on cinder blocks.
Mm-hmm. So that's another option. There's one at the old WMG offices over there at St. Mark's Presbyterian where it's on top of cinder blocks and then it has a plywood platform
Oh, you
for
put
it.
the plywood in it
And
too?
so
Okay.
since they're doing a lot of veggie gardening and I'm not exactly familiar with their irrigation system, but that extra elevation being key in getting that water out into the garden and maintaining the pressure to distribute it throughout the landscape.
More drop, more pressure.
Exactly. More pressure.
That was a question I had when you showed how you could use the rain head and mount it here in case he did want to raise some of his beds. Was that a trade-off that was discussed? And I guess the other part of my question is there a value to having this, or why not just go ahead and put the rain guard flush like it was like that design?
It's easier to clean when it's lower. So the fact that 1 foot, if we have the 1 foot, and you weren't going to raise, some people do raise the whole cistern to have every foot we lift that water, we add 0.43 pounds of pressure.
Yeah, or let you get a bucket under the.
or let you get a bucket under it. Absolutely. But in this particular case, I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those are things you look at in your design. The other thing I wanted to mention when the tank comes off the truck, I always inspect it. I inspect the bottom. I inspect all the way around. It could have got damaged in shipping. You don't want to go to all the trouble of putting it in. And I don't know if did you do that, Joe, when it came in, or should we do that today?
So we took a look at it, and I mean, in terms of it being scuffed up, and I mean, it certainly isn't in the best condition. We've that Ace has delivered tanks, but
Yeah.
it wouldn't hurt to take another look at it.
Who delivered the tank?
Making the notes. Ace Hardware. They have a delivery service. Basically, we get the tanks.
And
wholesale
so
from
say
them.
there was some kind of
We had this
structural
happen-
integrity.
Yeah, we had this happen in one of the last classes. While the driver is still here, we inspected the tank and said it looked like somebody took an awl and stabbed into the tank.
Wow.
And it was like something in shipping rubbed against it and punched a hole in it. We said, look, we want a new tank. And before we got ready to put the tank in, they had picked that one up and brought us one back.
So what about repairing those? Say there does come something that needs patched or something down the line. Is that
They're hard to patch. You almost have to use a mechanical patch, like a screw in a washer. You know, because there's really the only way you can attach to these is it's vibration welding. It heats up, and to have that rig mobile is kind of involved. But they do make a device that you can seal up small little holes and whatnot.
It's hard to seal it.
It is
Yeah.
very
Most
hard.
of the wetbacks people coming from Mexico scratch one of the properties, and it's really hard to get it.
Yeah. So inspect it when it comes off the truck. Now, if something hits it after it's installed, they're really resistant to shock. So you bump into it with a wheelbarrow or a car if it's in a front yard, they're really resistant to that kind of damage. That's why don't accept any responsibility. So if they come back a day later, they could have said you guys did it during the install. Show the driver right then, inspect it, get it dealt with before that truck leaves.
What's the average lifespan on these? Full sun, uncoated, just sitting out in the sun?
The manufacturer will say 30 years. The ag industry's had them out there for more than 30 years.
And you mean in this climate, with this
Yeah.
sun, with this exposure?
Now these are a newer version. This comes out of Australia. Now Australia has our kind of climate, but these are quite a bit thinner. I don't know what Bushman's. I think it's 5 years is their warranty. But if you put elastomeric coating on it, you could actually, like on a roof, never have to re-roof a house as long as you kept the coating on it, because the UV is degrading the coating, not the tank.
Is that what Brad used to paint the
Yeah.
plastic tanks,
Mhm.
elastomeric?
Yep.
It's the same thing that goes
Roof
on.
coating, exactly.
And how does it elastomeric take ordinary exterior household paint? Does it take it pretty well?
I think the only difference is these tanks flex, and that elastomeric will flex with it as they fill and draw down, where normal latex paint doesn't have that stretch capability. It does stretch, but not as much as elastomeric.
Yeah, I've seen people paint on top of the elastomeric with some
Oh, yeah.
latex. Just
Oh,
to
yeah.
Make it a little bit more aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah.
It seems to be holding up pretty well. They're pretty thin coats, granted, but yeah, it seems to be keeping together.
So you want to get a couple people and get your brick out of the way,